Drivers, start your engines!
It's MRN Motorsports Monday, the place for the latest news and loudest opinions, direct from the guys at the track. Presented by Outback Steakhouse. The stories, views, and opinions expressed on MRN Motorsports Monday are not likely shared by anyone, anywhere. Results may vary, so you should talk to your doctor before watching.
What's up, Doc?
Today's episode is brought to you by Hercules Tire.
Pace car is up.
Here's Woody Cain.
Oh, boy, am I glad to see you guys!
I knew you'd come back, Woody.
And Joey Meier.
Just a reminder, if you're asking me a question on the radio, just keep talking till I answer it for you, all right?
Welcome to MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. After the racing at Richmond International Raceway, Joey Logano wins in his 300th start. And I'm going to ask you a question, but I'm just going to keep talking until you answer. Will that be all right?
If I don't hear you right away, you keep talking. Eventually, I will.
Sooner or later, you'll get there.
Exactly right.
Well, it looked like for a time Matt Kenseth had the best car. Then it looked for a time like you guys had the best car. Then things kind of got jumbled up at the end with some late cautions and pit stops.
Well, I would agree with you. The two-car was the best car. It just didn't win the race.
Well, that happens pretty frequently.
Exactly right. Having the best car during the season has shown numerous times throughout the years so far that having the best car doesn't get you to victory lane. Execution from start to finish, and the 22 team did that, including the last 2 or 3 restarts. He was able to take the lead and then maintain a good cushion, and Brad Keselowski was unable to track him down there with a handful of laps to go.
After having to start in the back because they found a transmission problem, I believe, and changed that out and had to go to the back. Was that right?
Yeah, much like we do for airplanes, they pre-flight the race cars. A little magnetic sensor in the sensor plug in the transmission is designed to pick up any debris that might fall off gears and stuff.
Metallic, yeah,
exactly
and they pull
right.
it out and check.
So that plug had some debris on it. So to precaution measure, nothing had failed yet, but you saw something was coming apart. They just put a new transmission in, and they're relegated to start in the back.
Safety first, no question about it. So as we mentioned, his 300th start, Joey Logano gets the win at Richmond. Our Winston Kelly spoke to him in victory lane.
That short pit and then staying out, y'all's discussion, your thought during that process and how big that was in a win.
Well, I didn't really discuss it much with Todd. And then my thought process was, oh no, right after we stayed out. But we were able to maintain the lead. I don't think we would have won the race and held off Kyle there if it stayed green. The caution came out. The boys had a great stop, gave us good track position to pass the cars that stayed out there, and we were able to try to take off as best I can. As I knew the two he was so much faster than everybody, and I knew if I just had to get out there as quick as I can and get as far as I can, and hopefully he didn't catch me, which he was on his way to catching me. I think he was catching me a couple tenths a lap, and it's just all I had inside the car, and I burned him up pretty early just trying to go. So overall, proud of the effort of the team because we executed under pressure today and brought a car home that may have been a 5th to 10th place car in the victory lane. So could be more proud of that.
All right, there you go. Joey Logano gets it done in his 300th start overall. And can you believe that number, 300? As we talked about last week, he reminded everybody at the test at Daytona, I'm only 26.
Yeah, 26 years old, has about 30 years of experience in the Cup
Feels
Series.
like, yeah.
Exactly right. So another 1-2 finish for Team Penske, which is a fantastic opportunity. But finishing second to your teammate is a lot like the saying kissing your sister.
Yeah.
It's not really something you want to do on a daily basis, and I think you can hear a touch of the disappointment when we listen to Brad's statement after the race.
Describe what it was like there in the closing laps with the different pit strategies.
Well, I was just hoping for another restart or for the race to be extended like another 10 laps. I think we had a ton of long run speed today with the Detroit Ford and just that short run at the end. Half the field pitted, half the field didn't, and we knew we were going to drive through the field, and I just got stuck in the lane with cars that didn't go and couldn't make anything of it. And by the time I did, Joey was long gone. Hell, he had almost straight on us, and we got it down to a couple car lengths at the end. So just needed a few more laps, but all in all, really happy for Team Penske to 1-2 finish, and we'll take it and move on and be happy for the solid day.
The other good news in the good news, bad news feature here is that you guys won a stage for the first time.
Unbelievable. It's kind of weird. We've won 2 races this year, but have been unable to win a stage like Jimmy Johnson hasn't done either, which is unusual. 2-time winners, 2 drivers, had won a stage until Richmond. But realistically, the fans that got to show up, 35, 40,000, whatever number you want to put on them, got to see a great race, passing wherever you were looking. Back of the field, front to back, 3, 4 wide sometimes. Temperatures almost close to 90 degrees, putting on a very good surface for the track to give the drivers multiple areas to run top to bottom, and they were using the entire bit of it.
And speaking of the heat, Kurt Busch rides around almost all day with his cooling unit not working out. That had to make him feel like an egg on the sidewalk.
Yeah, anytime we saw the temperature in Denny Hamlin's car exceed 140 degrees, these guys are athletes. We see it week in and week out.
Absolutely we do. All right, we've got a big program for you on MRN Motorsports Monday today. Steve Letarte is going to join us. He was Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief, as you know. Last week he announced that he would step out of the car at the end of this season. We'll talk with him about that and about the upcoming NBC broadcasts. They take over in July. It's all ahead on MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. Stay with us.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice. And I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great.
Where will you be when NASCAR comes to Chicago's fastest loop? 4 days of racing, tailgating, camping, and music come to Chicagoland Speedway September 14th through the 17th. Tickets for Sunday Chicagoland 400 are available now. Camping spots are available and selling fast. All kids tickets $25 off adult price and free on certain race days. Get your tickets and campsite now at ChicagolandSpeedway.com. Chicagoland Speedway, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs start here.
Hey, this is Dale Earnhardt Jr., and I know the importance of communication. So when it came to selecting equipment for my team, I chose Racing Electronics.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. will win!
Oh, yeah! And so should you. With Racing Electronics, you can listen to all the raw, unfiltered, heat-of-the-moment communication between drivers and their crews.
I love you, man.
Enhancing your experience.
Unbelievable!
Putting you right in the middle of the action. Go to racingelectronics.com to rent a scanner or FanVision, or see Racing Electronics and FanVision trackside at every NASCAR race.
Brad Keselowski shutting it down to 5 car lengths. They hit the back straightaway. Logano back on the gas, off the end of the backstretch, looking for race win number 1 of 2017.
He will join Ned Jarrett, Rusty Wallace, Casey Cain, Kyle Busch, and Denny Hamlin, drivers that have completed 300 starts and gone to victory lane on that day. Joey Logano getting the win over his teammate Brad Keselowski.
There you go. You heard first and second. Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Kevin Harvick comes home with a top 5. That means it's a top 10. That means
free blooming onion.
Bloomin' Monday at Outback Steakhouse.
Joey menu for lunch.
For kids? For kids?
It's the diet menu. It's the diet menu.
Oh, that's what you're going to say now? That's
low
where you're
volume.
Go?
It's good. Go get your free bloomin' onion today.
And a lot of great lunch specials as well at Outback Steakhouse. Let's talk a little bit more. We mentioned Dale Earnhardt Jr. Announcing last week that he would end his, full-time Cup driving career at the end of the 2017 season, but he's going to come back for a couple of Xfinity races next year to help his company out. They had already been pre-planned, and he wants to keep doing that. So it's not like he's going to vanish and go away and live in a cave and we'll never see or hear from him again.
We've seen Jeff Gordon retire. We've seen him stay active in the sport, in media. We've seen Tony Stewart retire from the sport, still very active in team ownership. We're going to see a very similar pattern, I feel, with Dale Jr., only he's going to be a touch more active because not only will he still be involved with his team ownership, but he has committed to a couple of Xfinity races for 2018.
I'm sure you saw, as I did, a lot of the social media buzz was about, oh my gosh, this is just another straw that'll break the camel's back. You have guys like a Carl Edwards getting out, a Jeff Gordon, a Tony Stewart, and now Dale Earnhardt Jr. 14 times in a row the sport's most popular driver. Is it the end of the world?
You know, other sports have had their stars, their superstars retire. The Troy Aikmans, the Dan Marinos, and every sport has had a star retire. And somehow or another the sport goes on. The sport is never designed around one superstar. We've had the Richard Pettys and the Cale Yarboroughs and the Bobby Allisons and the Darrell Waltrips of the world. They have retired, and the sport has continued. Are we going to see a blip in activity from a fan viewership? Absolutely.
But we're going to see an upward tick for the rest of this year.
Exactly right. So we have a person that's the most valuable person in our sport retiring, but he's still very active. And the it happened on his own terms. He wasn't,
That's what's good.
He wasn't ripped out of our hearts like his father was February 18th of 2001. We're able to plan for the future with Dale Jr. mentioning this now. We still have 26 races to go. I'm sorry to see him leave as long as I've been around him and personally involved with him from DEI days. But from a team ownership, he made it clear. He had a big team meeting at Junior Motorsports. My nephew Jacob works there. And they said, look, I'm getting out of the car. I'm not leaving the sport, and that's very important.
Absolutely it is. By the way, we're going to have Steve Letarte on in the next segment. Dale Jr.'s former crew chief and now an analyst with NBC as they get ready to come back in July. And the Dale Earnhardt and the Dale Earnhardt Jr. comparison, you mentioned earlier something last week that we wanted to talk about on the show. Which one had a bigger impact when they left the sport?
It's very interesting. We have two different generations of drivers because there are people watching TV now that never saw Dale Earnhardt Sr. race. The black, iconic number 3 Goodwrench, all the famed stories that
all
go
the
along.
stuff that made him the Intimidator.
Exactly right. They don't even know who he was. Well, that generation of fan enjoyed Dale Jr. But when Dale Sr. left, all of his fans jumped on the Dale Jr. bandwagon as well. So you had these two groups. We weren't able to plan for Dale Sr.'s departure. Nobody was. We came in Monday morning after that death with goosebumps that I still have right now, and we sat as a company in Teresa Earnhardt, who's not liked now. We loved her in 2001, and she chose herself. She put second, and she put the team company first, and we were able to continue on from 2001 until 2010. Well, now we have a situation with Dale Jr. He's going out on his own. He's making this decision, giving us 26 races to plan. Those fans, Junior Nation, as strong as they were, and after Jimmy Johnson wrecked them yesterday, saw the vile of the Junior Nation.
Even his mom.
Exactly.
His mom was getting into the act.
Exactly right. So that Junior Nation will be divided amongst a handful of drivers, whether it's the Brad Keselowskis or the Ryan Blaney's or the Kyle Larsons, the Chase Elliott's. They'll be divided a little bit easier. They'll be able to wean themselves off to a different driver as quickly as they can.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be special, that what you mentioned is he was able to do it on his terms and not have something force him to do it, a medical condition or something like that. But one thing we mentioned earlier in the pre-show meeting that I wanted to mention as well is when Dale Earnhardt Jr. Leaves. Remember, it wasn't all that long ago. I guess it really was. It just doesn't feel like it. When he was bursting onto the scene, the guy with the backwards hat and the goatee, the bleached hair and all that stuff, and people gravitated towards him. Now he's the veteran, and you have the guys like the Larsons you mentioned and the Chase Elliott's and the Eric Joneses and the Blaney's who are coming up. A lot of young guys, and Dale Jr. even mentioned in his press conference when he announced the retirement at the end of the year, that these are different guys who do things in different ways and are very savvy about how to reach their audiences through social media and other avenues.
Yeah, absolutely. The young kids are representative of today's generation. And as we've seen, the TV ratings might be declining, but the viewership is coming in different ways. We're getting our information in a multitude of avenues and being able to reach the young avenue with Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, and Ryan Blaney, Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, just to name a few of the young drivers. The sport is in good hands. It's not crumbling away because everybody's falling away. And the one thing that we can learn from Dale Sr.'s leaving so quickly is safety innovations really came to the forefront of our industry with the software walls specifically and the Hans device.
That was it was a negative at first when it happened, but the positive took some time, but it grew out of it. There was an enhanced emphasis on safety, and it's paid off today, because how many more of these drivers would have been seriously injured without those?
Yeah, without a doubt. Both Dales will leave their legacy behind for years to come. Dale Sr.'s primarily with his intimidating driving style, but also his safety is concerned after his departure.
Absolutely. All right, we've still got a lot more on Motorsports Monday. Up next, Steve Letarte from NASCAR and NBC is going to join us to talk some Dale Jr. and what he's seen so far in the 2017 season.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great!
After more than 1 million hours of development, the truck of the future has arrived. The new Cascadia from Freightliner, inspired by science, driven by passion. It's loaded with driver-focused improvements, such as noise abatement technologies for an even quieter ride, an innovative wraparound dashboard for improved comfort, and a reimagined driver's lounge that promotes productivity and relaxation. Experience the new Cascadia at your dealer or online at Freightliner.com.
When the smoke settles, the entertainment never stops.
It's all a family sport.
On race weekends, your favorite NASCAR personality is an everyday superhero.
BRAD KESELOWSKI will win.
But when they leave the racetrack, they're just like everyone else.
We just have to find the value package that connects a new generation of fans.
I'm Susie Armstrong. Join me on a daily journey as we discuss the hot topics and engaging personalities of NASCAR Nation. Ned Jarrett's World of Racing, weekdays on the Motor Racing Network.
I'm Dale Earnhardt Jr., and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with Joey Meier and Woody Cain.
There you go. How about that?
There
Dale
he
Jr.
is.
bringing us back as we talk about him, and Steve Letarte's going to join us in just a moment to talk more about it. But we talked briefly before the break about the incident he had with his own teammate, Jimmy Johnson, who said, I just didn't see it. But, man, that was a pretty hard lick.
Yeah, it's interesting when you do get involved in teammates, how the reaction is versus when teammates or other team guys get involved, how the same reaction can be. We've seen Brad and Matt Kenseth get involved, and the reaction is different than when Martin Truex Jr. and Matt Kenseth get involved. So it's a little humor involved when Dale Jr. said after on Twitter, heck, you hit me so hard you made my CD skip. Years ago he made the ad where the CD was in his race car, and he would go there and eject the CD, and that's what we're referring to. So so Jimmy hit him so hard it made his CD skip yesterday.
And he retweeted when his mom texted him about, well, don't they make those guys take physicals and get an eye test there? Jimmy apparently, and you spelled it Jimmy, apparently didn't do too well on his.
You know, it's interesting. We race 38 cars. We race 400 laps. Sometimes we get together with our own guys. At the end of the race, those guys got together. At the end of the race, Joey and Brad were getting together, trying to race each other for the win. It just happens. It's a great opportunity to enjoy the friendship of teammates as well as the angst and the competitiveness of being able to rub sheet metals with your own guys.
And now we head to a track this coming week at Talladega where Dale Earnhardt Jr. is very, very good and will likely be among the favorites to win that race and secure himself a spot in the playoffs.
You think the fans are going to cheer him?
I think they probably will. At Talladega, yeah, they might tear the place down if he wins out there. Joining us on the guest line now, Steve Letarte from NASCAR on NBC, former crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr. We wanted to get him on to talk a little bit about all things Dale and about what we've seen so far in the season. Steve, welcome back to the program, man. Good to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
We were talking earlier about Dale Jr. announcing last week that he's going to step out of the car at the end of the year, at least on the Cup side, full time. And a lot of people have speculated about what this may mean for the sport going forward. I kind of compare it to a golf thing where it's not like an athlete, a football player steps out, but a Tiger Woods may be leaving golf, something along those lines. What do you think?
Well, without a doubt, it's going to have a major impact. I mean, he's the sport's most popular driver, but I think the shadow that some people are trying to cast that this is a doomsday is a little overkill. Without a doubt, fans are going to have a decision to make. If they love racing, they're going to find other drivers, and I think that the sport has done a good job of providing them new young stars to cheer for. I think Kyle Larson is fun to watch. Ryan Blaney has become his own person. He's easy to cheer for, and there's even younger stars back down in the Xfinity Series. So, you can't put your head in the sand and say that Dale Jr. not driving is going to make no difference. I think that's kind of, ignorant and a dream place to live. But at the same time, to think that all of his fans are just going to up and stop watching, I think we owe it to the fans to hold them a little higher regard than that. I think they should be disappointed that their driver no longer competes, but I think they can also find another driver that they fall in love with. I mean, how many stories have we heard that, hey, my dad loved Dale Sr., so I love Jeff Gordon because it was the opposite? Well, I think we might see a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve, your NBC network takes over the races in Coke Zero at Daytona in July, but one of the advantages you have being involved with the sport is being able to stand back and watch it. Absolutely, from a fan standpoint, a couple of introducing things we did this year was we added stage racing as well as the lower downforce package. What's been your perspective and results so far through 9 races this year?
Well, I think the lower downforce package is an easier one. I don't think there's a huge change obvious on the racetrack, but what I think it does do that people aren't giving credit to is it allows Goodyear to maybe be a little more aggressive with the tires, to bring different tires. I think the tire combinations have really matched the racetracks well, and I think that has a lot to do with the downforce. I think you take the downforce off, you slow the cars down in the middle of the corner. I mean, you know from the spotter stand, these cars are actually decelling now. They're going in the corner, they're slowing down, they're making a corner, they're accelerating. And I think that allows Goodyear to bring a tire that matches the tracks. And for the stage races, I couldn't be more impressed and more excited. You're right, I am totally a fan the first half of the year. I watched 5 or 6 in person at the racetrack. I watched the other group of 10 or 15 races from home on television. And I think the stage racing has given myself, my family, my 13-year-old son exactly what we were looking for. It gives these moments in the race that we kind of tune back in. You know, we're a race fan like everyone else, but on a Sunday afternoon, as I'm watching the race, I'm also playing cards with my family or swimming in the pool with the kids, and, you know, you kind of multitask. That's what happens in 2017. And this stage racing makes it a little harder to multitask because there's a lot going on the racetrack that I don't want to miss.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you surprised at all about the intensity we've seen in these stages? Because at the beginning of the year, nobody was really sure how it was going to play out, and some guys were saying it's not going to be that big of a deal. Now it seems like everybody is on board from a competition standpoint, realizing you got to get every single point you can for the end of the year.
Well, I think you brought it up. I think the points are the key. I really think that, I know this is going to sound half political, but NASCAR should be applauded that they dealt with the teams, with the owners, with the TV networks, and they got everyone in a room, the track promoters, because I think without a piece of the puzzle, it could have easily failed. But I think NASCAR matched the stages, how they are to be run, with the points, and how they're to be awarded, with the playoff points, and how they're to be carried through every round. I think all of those pieces are vital for the success of this format. And I think they got most of them right, and I think that's why it's working. If you take the point aspect out, I don't think it makes a big difference. If you take the playoff point aspect out, I'm not sure it brings the intensity we're looking for at the front of the field. So I think there were a lot of moving parts, and for a first blush at a huge change, and I think they hit most of them all right.
Yeah. Steve, in 1995, I was sitting up in the grandstands at Homestead International Speedway before it had been reconfigured and renamed multiple times. And as I stood on the outside looking in, I wanted a job working in the garage, and I had no idea how to get there. You have now created a new opportunity for anybody to try to get a job in the NASCAR with racingjobs.com. Explain to everybody how that's working, exactly how they can utilize the new website to try to get on and get with a race team.
Well, I'm really proud of the site. I mean, basically, I'm no different, right? I'm a small-town kid from Maine who was fortunate enough to move to North Carolina, and Ray Abraham gave me a job sweeping his floors in the shop, and I tried to leverage that opportunity all the way through my career and was fortunate enough to do so. But I really believe all across the country there are people like you and me, young men and women that love the sport, that I think can do a lot for the sport of auto racing, not just NASCAR, IndyCar, NHRA race, sprint car. You know, I'm a race fan. If it's racing, I'm watching. And I think there are people across the country that deserve an opportunity in that forum to do their best. So basically, we created this site, a couple friends of myself, and the whole goal of the site is that you go online, you fill out all the information. It's kind of like doing a job interview with me, what your skill sets are, what you can do, what your experience is. It is subscription-based. It has a small fee per month to make your information searchable by the race team. The race teams go on. They search, and it's still all anonymously. Hey, think about cars.com, right? I need a mechanic who has this much experience, and and you can find new talent all across the country. And it's, I try to give back. I'm 37 years old, soon to be 38. Every paycheck I've ever received has either been from MRN Motorsports or NBC Sports. I'm blessed to work in this sport, and I'm trying to give back to other young men and women across the country that were fortunate enough to get a spot like me. I'd like to see more of them get in the sport. Those new ideas, that new blood really makes a difference.
Fantastic. Steve, let's look ahead while we got to finish up the segment here. The All-Star race format was announced recently, and the big twist is the opportunity to use a softer tire at one point. Well, how do you think that might play out?
Well, I think it's going to be a little direct at the All-Star race as far as the front-running cars. They're going to probably save that set of tires for the last run, but with the elimination and the average finish, if you get behind early, you could use that set of tires earlier in the race, maybe the middle stages of the race to guarantee a position in that final run. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. I do think this is a great test. I think that would make the race weekends more stressful for a crew chief, which makes it more exciting for a TV guy. So I'm a fan of it from that outside. But, I think it goes back to the lower downforce. Like we were saying, with the high downforce, Goodyear was in such a box. I don't think there was a softer tire option. I think they brought the tire that they dared put on these race cars.
Yeah,
I think NASCAR and the sport have put that lower downforce on there, and that's given Goodyear an option.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right there. And let's finish up. We started with Dale Jr. Let's finish with Dale Jr. from this perspective. Heading to Talladega, obviously one of his best tracks. What do you think makes him so good at super speedways, and in particular Talladega?
There's an air of confidence with Dale Jr. when he goes into the super speedways. I didn't understand it until he was my driver back in 2011. I tell the story. We show up at Daytona with our cars that we've always worked very hard on, and we go out, and unfortunately that was the tandem year. But for about 30 minutes in shootout practice before they figured out how to tandem, I watched him go from the back to the front, back to the back, and back to the front like it was effortless. And that was a car that I had built and I had prepared, and I was fortunate enough to have Jeff Gordon, who's another great plate racer, but watching Dale in practice proved to me that he's unlike anyone else. He sees stuff, he understands it, he believes it, and it's just very unique, and I think it all comes down to confidence. I think when he makes a move, he is confident it's the right move. It reminds me of Brad or Jimmy or some of these guys at a downforce track. When they drop the green on practice at Dover, from the spotter stand, right, just watch Jimmy Johnson because he's going to be fast. Well, when you go to a super speedway and they drop the green in the race, you watch Dale Jr., and he seems to be ahead of the curve on where the line's going to be, where the runs are going to come from. And I hope he goes down there and the pressure's off, even though it's his last year, and he just enjoys himself, because I think if he goes down there with a smile to have fun, he's going to be very, very dangerous at the plate race.
I think he will, too. I think you're exactly right on that. Steve Letarte, NASCAR on NBC. They take over the TV broadcast in July at Daytona with a Coke Zero 400. Don't forget racingjobs.com. And, Steve, man, we really appreciate your time and your insight today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Steve.
There you go. That's some cool insight there about the confidence Dale Jr. has at Talladega.
One of the things Brad Keselowski has always talked about is not just taking the fruit from the industry, but planting trees. Racingjobs.com is Steve Letarte's way of planting trees.
Absolutely, and those seeds are already starting to sprout. We've got more to come on Motorsports Monday. We'll look ahead at Talladega, and we'll talk some Xfinity Series racing after this.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I'm on that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Country 500 Music Festival is back with Blake Shelton, Miranda Lambert,
You can't ride in my little red wagon.
Kid Rock, Keith Urban, Thomas Rhett, plus Brooks and Dunn, Hank Williams Jr., Jake Owen, and so much more. Memorial Day weekend at Daytona International Speedway. Single day tickets on sale now. Visit country500.com. Sponsored in part by Budweiser.
Justin Allgaier slips. He'll give up the top spot. Larson gets away halfway down the backstretch. They're crossing behind him. Ryan Reed hard to the inside. Slams driver's side to the inside. Safer barrier.
White flag is out. No caution on the speedway. Battle for the lead now is off turn 2.
As they exit, and all the leaders have just checked up. Larson's dropped the window net.
Here they come now off turn number 4. The caution flag now flies. Checkered is in the air. Kyle Larson across the start-finish line will win the Toyota Care 250.
Justin Allgaier wins another $100,000 in the Xfinity Dash for Cash program, but Kyle wins again in the Xfinity Series, and where, Joey, is the outrage?
These Cup guys are just ruining the sport.
We didn't see all the get him out tweets and all that stuff going on after Kyle Larson won.
Yeah, Kyle Larson's having a fantastic year in both series, both the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. That team is running up front every weekend. If he were running the Xfinity Series full-time, he would definitely be a championship contender early on here in 2017.
Absolutely, he would. He still leads the Cup standings by 40 points over Martin Truex Jr., 52 over Chase Elliott. On the Xfinity side, Elliott Sadler leads. Justin Allgaier, we mentioned him. He's second in the standings now, 41 back. And there's an Xfinity test coming up at Charlotte this week.
Yeah, we have a test tomorrow, 8 to 3, which I'll participate. But how about Junior Motorsports? 1, 2, and some guy with a big R next to his name, William Byron, in third. They're having a really good season.
And another good run for Daniel Hemrick. He's right behind William Byron as well in those standings right now. 2 rookies in the top 5.
A very good opportunity this coming weekend for standings really to be jumbled up at Talladega. Both series, Saturday and Sunday. You have no idea what happens. We look for the big one for the entire event on Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday, the Sparks Energy 300 at 12:30 from Talladega on MRN. Sunday, the Geico 500 at 1 o'clock Eastern Time from Talladega. We'll be here for it all. We'll talk about it next week on another edition of MRN Motorsports Monday. Mark your calendar. Make sure you're here. Check it out wherever you can find it.
MRN Motorsports Monday is presented by Outback Steakhouse. Tune in every Monday for another exciting episode right here on MRN.com. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. MRN Motorsports Monday is also available on demand in MRN.com's Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and in iTunes or the Google Play Store. MRN Motorsports Monday is a production of the Motor Racing Network.